Welcome to my journey through the Bible. This will be applications you can apply to your life and a little more in depth about the chapter. Now, David had already forgotten about his sin and was expecting to have a son. By the time that Nathan had came to him and told him this story about the rich man and the poor man. And of course, David immediately became angry and upset and wanted this man to pay for his sins, but to only find out that he was this man. And many times we get upset over things that people do. It's usually because of our own flaws. We need to take a good hard look at when somebody does something that upsets us. Why? Why is it upsetting you so much? Is it because you do the same thing? And David had sinned against God. He broke 2 of the 10 commandments. He committed adultery and he committed murder. Now, God did forgive David, just like God will forgive us of our sins if we ask for it. Now, it took courage for Nathan to confront David about this sin. And we need to have that same kind of courage when we face sin in our life, or even if we see sin in somebody else's life. But we first need to pray to God, and we need to come to the person. We need to confront the person, but confront them out of love and out of concern for helping them to live the way that God has asked us to live. Don't go to them out of rage or trying to say, oh, I'm going to condemn you. Let me show you how smart I am. Let me point out your sin to you. Because the Bible is very clear that we all sin and fall short of the glory of God. And God tells us that we got to take that beam out of our own eye before we can take the speck out of somebody else's eye. So remember the Bible verses before you go and confront somebody, and make sure that you pray and that it comes from a place of love. And of course, the well-being of the person. Now, when we sin, the very first thing we have to do is we have to admit that sin. And David did. David said, I have sinned against the Lord. And then, of course, while God did forgive him, the consequences was already set in place. So God will forgive our sins, but the consequences are still there. And sometimes those consequences can be a very heavy price, even in this case, like losing a child. And I've heard people say, well, I'll do it for today, and then I'll ask for forgiveness for tomorrow. Well, you can do that, but then realize that when you ask for forgiveness, your consequences are already set in place. So then don't be upset with God when those consequences come about. Now, God had given David everything. He gave him a kingdom. He gave him the wives that he wanted. He had everything. And then God would have even gave him more if he asked. God says you have not because you ask not. But be wise with the words that come out of your mouth. David prayed for his child that was sick. Now, we can pray for people and we can ask for help. We can ask for healing. But we also have to be willing to accept the answer that God gives us. God knows best, and He knows the future of each one of us. Now, it does us no good to fight against God, because He's going to win every time. All we're doing is adding to our heartache. So pray for guidance. Pray for a clear answer. And accept the answer and then move on. God will guide you through the rest of your situations that you're facing. May God be with you in everything and in every way.